Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about the 3 biggest mistakes that new welders make, and that is arc marks, undercut, and porosity, and how to avoid them. Then we're going to actually show you how to do it the right way also. Okay, so the most common mistake people will make when they start off welding is their travel speed, their arc length, and just having bad dirty rods because they don't know any better. Combination of all those will get you some porosity in your welds. So you want to make sure you have a clean surface, clean rods, good arc length, good amps, good speed, and you want to make sure your rod is no more than 1/8 of an inch off of your plate. And how you get porosity is simple. You get some air mixed into your weld as you're going. So if you're moving too fast, you're manipulating your rod too much, you can throw an air pocket in there and then it'll bring it out to the surface. And a good way to avoid that is just to make sure you have good arc length, the wind's not blowing too hard outside, and make sure you have a clean rod. So porosity, a good way to visualize it is just a bunch of little pinholes inside of your weld. So if we look at this first one right here, it usually happens when we start off just because you broke into that flux off the rod before you got going. So if you don't start up, run back over your weld as you go, you'll get some porosity right there where you start. Also, there's some right here in the middle of our weld, and that is just from being too far away or the wind blowing too hard, not having the right heat and arc length. All right, so now we're going to talk about undercut. Generally speaking, when you're running flat, you don't have to really worry about undercut. You'll see this more on your overhead or vertical or horizontal welds. Not so much on your flat welds, just because the puddle wants to flow out and cover that undercut up anyway. How you get undercut? A couple different ways. One, you're not holding your edges long enough. You're not letting that iron flow out to the sides just to cover up your undercut. Or 2, your amps are too hot or your material is too hot that you're currently working on, and it's really digging into that material and leaving a nice undercut line in there. You'll actually be able to feel it with your fingernail. If you let it cool off just a little bit, you can feel it click on there. Sometimes you'll see it, it's really aggressive, it'll be extremely deep, but we really try to avoid that. So just a good rule of thumb is 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi as you hit your edges. Let the iron flow out, or if you're going just dragging, you'll have a nice consistent bead. That way your puddle is the exact same size the whole way down. That way you're not V'ing it out as you go. So just nice consistent, holding your edges, letting your puddle flow out to cover up your undercut. That way you have nice consistent toe lines. All right, so now we're gonna talk about some arc marks. Sounds pretty simple and easy to avoid. They don't call it stick welding for no reason. So obviously these rods like to stick a lot as you try to strike them up. And what will end up happening is you'll strike it up, try to wiggle it loose as you break it, and when you fire back up, it might jump out here outside your weld zone. So having the correct heat and just a nice flick as you get going, that'll help avoid all your arc marks. Also, if you're welding and it gets stuck, the best thing you can do is just unhook off of your rod. That way you can just break it off. There's no more electricity flowing through here, so you don't have to worry about arc marking all over the place. A lot of places, especially with high pressure piping, if you have an arc mark outside of your weld zone, it's a cutout. Now I have to get another piece of pipe in because probably you just shorten your pup up by 1/2 inch to 1 inch. So just good rule of thumb, especially if you're out there testing or new to it, is you want to just unhook off your rod, then break your rod off your material as you go. What an arc mark actually is doing to the base material is it's compromising it. So you're striking arc, you're sending electricity through your material. It'll actually spider web your material. You can't see it with the naked eye, but it will compromise it, make it a weak spot in there. So you just want to make sure you're only welding inside your weld zone. So now that we know how to avoid all that, we want to make a nice consistent weld, same speed, same arc length, nice consistent, not too hot, not too cold. Hopefully we'll end up with something like this. Pretty nice toe lines. Our ripples are about the same, and it's the same consistency all the way through. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with us today. Hope you appreciate it. Hope you learned something. Let us know what you guys want to see next, and we'll definitely make it happen.